Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great and welcome to the channel. And today we are going to be looking at basically converting hex color into a color object and basically back. So basically taking the color object and putting it into a hash string. Okay, so let me show you a demo of what we're going to be building. So we're going to be building this app in, or this page in SwiftUI, which is going to have a text field. And as we type the color, the hex color into this text field, this circle right here is going to show the color. And down at the bottom, it's basically going to convert this color, whatever is in the circle, back to the hex value. Okay, so let me show you the way it's gonna work. And I'm gonna take this out, and right now we don't have any color, so let's go ahead and fill it in. So I'm gonna say F8, not JS, 2 3. Okay, so this is basically our color with full opacity. Okay, and then we can have some opacity applied, or you can say full opacity by FF, or we can go basically 6 for a little bit more darker shade, or 8 for slightly more darker. Okay, so this is what we're going to be building out today, and we're gonna go basically dive right in. Before we do that, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. There are a whole bunch of videos on iOS development here on this channel, and give this video a thumbs up if you like that, and leave some comments below. Okay, and the other thing is, if you haven't checked out devtechie.com, please do that, because there are a lot of resources that we have, courses, there's blog posts and stuff like that. So we've got a whole bunch of things going on that you can actually use to learn about SwiftUI and iOS development in general. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So first thing we're gonna do is we are going to develop these two functions. There's going to be an initializer. We're going to create a new initializer for our color object, and that initializer is going to be taking a hex string and going to convert it into a color object. Okay, and then we're gonna actually create another function, basically 2hex function, which is gonna take that color object and convert it into hex string. Now you might be thinking why do we need it? Well, if you are dealing with storing the values, like color values, into database core data or user defaults or something like that, you have to have some sort of string. So this is going to be handy in these situations where you want to save these colors, or let's say if you're getting your colors from your designer. In those cases, you're most likely going to get those colors in hex format. You can actually leverage these small little utilities to help yourself out. Okay, so we're going to start. We are going to need UIKit, so I'm going to import UIKit right here, and importing UIKit is necessary for the other part where we're going to be converting color into hex string. Okay, so we're going to start with an extension on the color itself, and we're going to write an initializer, which is going to be an optional initializer, and it's going to take an hex with a string. Now this initializer is going to return a nil in one condition, and I'll tell you what that is. But before that, we're going to actually make sure our hex string that's being passed is clean, in a sense. So we are gonna make sure that it has some basic things. For example, we're gonna trim out any white space or new line characters. So we're gonna say hex dot trim characters in white space and new line. We are also going to make sure that if there is any occurrences of hash character right there, we want to replace that with an empty value. Okay, not empty, not a space, just like, replace it, basically removing that hash. Okay, then we're going to create a variable which we're going to use to populate using a pointer. So we're going to create this RGB variable, which is going to be of unsigned integer of 64 type, initialized with 0 value, and we're going to need some local variables for red, green, and blue colors. So red CG float, initialized with 0.0. We're gonna do this a few times. Next one is gonna be green color, and then blue color again for RGB space, and the value for alpha. Okay, all of them are going to be initialized with 0.0. And then we are going to need one more property. This property is going to be basically checking the length, because sometimes your hex string can be only 6 character length, given that no alpha value is passed, or sometimes it can be 8 character length because the alpha is present. So we want to make sure we actually make the right judgment call while converting these, because we're going to be using a bit shift operation, right shift operation, in order to determine which color component we are working with. Okay, so we're going to create a length, and we're going to basically take our local hex and do a count on that. Okay, now is the time when this initializer can return nil. We're going to actually go into scanner, and scanner is basically a string parser, and we're going to basically supply our local hex string, and we're going to say scan for hex integer 64. Okay, and after the scanning is done, it expects a pointer to be passed in, which is going to be populated with the RGB value, and we're going to say populate this local variable right here, unsigned integer 64. If you can't, then return nil from here. Okay, we want to make sure we actually return nil from here, so we don't proceed further. Now this is complaining self.init is not being called. We need to call the designated initializer. So we're going to say self.init, and we are going to use the RGB type. So we're going to say pass red in the red, green in the green, blue in the blue, and alpha in the opacity. Okay, so that is going to be the return. And not the return, but calling the self.init. Okay, so that satisfies the compiler. And now we're gonna do a simple check for the length. If we're gonna say if the length is 6 characters long, then take the red and basically create a CG float. Okay, and we are going to actually divide this by 255.0. That's the maximum value for red, green, or blue, or alpha. Actually, red, green, blue, alpha, all of them are going to be divided with 255. Okay, and we're gonna take the RGB. Okay, and we're gonna apply a bit operator, and we're gonna say the first one is going to be, now this is 6 length, so that means there are 16 bits that we're gonna shift. So it's gonna have basically first 2 F's are gonna represent the red. Okay, so we're gonna basically do a shift of for 16-bit. Okay, and that's gonna give us the red value. And I'm gonna take this and copy it and paste it for the green, and paste another one for blue. And since this is length 6, that means alpha is going to be 1.0. Okay, now we're going to change this. So next bits are at the 8 bits, so we're going to do 8-bit shift, right shift 8-bit, and the third one is not going to be any shift, so because our values are last 2, So we're gonna simply remove that shift, and there we go. So this is basically our length check 6, basically for the 6 characters. We're gonna capture value for red, green, and blue, and alpha is gonna be 1.0. Else, if the length is 8, in that case we want to do all this, but alpha is going to be present as well. So I'm going to copy this and paste it right here, and we're going to start from there. Okay, so there are more digits. Okay, so we're going to add 00. We're going to add 00 here as well, but this guy is going to be shifted 8 in this case. Okay, and let me insert this bracket parentheses right here. The next one is gonna be, so we're gonna have 2 zeros added here, and this is gonna shift 16 bits, and this is gonna shift 24 bits. Okay, so first 2 basically for red, second 2 for green, and then third 2 are for blue, and then last 2 are for alpha. Okay, if there's any other case, we want to return nil as well. So return nil. Okay, because we don't know how to convert that value. Like, you know, if it's like, usually the hex strings are either 6 or 8 strings, 8 count long. Okay, so that's our basically our color extension to convert color to hex. Okay, so let me put an example here. Now we're gonna actually create a V stack. Inside this, we are going to create a text. Just gonna say enter hex value. Okay, and then we're gonna have a text field which is gonna be bound to this state property. Called color string, like so, and it's gonna have a text style of rounded border. Now we want to make sure we have some padding here. We're gonna add a circle. We're gonna have a fill and an overlay of text with DevTechie written on it, and the font is gonna be large title. Fill, we're gonna use our new color, so we're gonna say color, and look for the initializer that we have created, the one that says hex right here, and this is going to expect basically the color string. Okay, and this can be option nil, so we're gonna say if no color exists, then put black color there. Black actually is good, and we are going to resume. All right, so let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna play this, and we're gonna enter. So there we go. We have, like, you know, the white color showing up. Now there's one thing I want to make sure, like, you know, the foreground color is white in this case. Okay, so there we go. DevTechie is visible now, and I'm gonna put FF, and then FF. Okay, so I'm gonna change the blue component and make it 34. Make it 23, like, you know, just to show you the changes. And as we are changing, as you can see, like, you know, our color is being changed. Okay, so that means our, like, our color extension is working fine, and we can have, like, you know, a slightly, like, you know, faded color as well. Okay, and as you can see, now it's invalid, so we are actually getting the black color, which means we are falling back on this optional value. Okay, I need to say 4K. Okay, all right, so now we have, like, you know, our main this function working, I'm gonna collapse this, and I'm gonna write another function which is gonna be 2hex. Okay, and this is basically going to convert a color into a hex value. Okay, so we're gonna simply return a string right here, which is going to be an optional string. We are going to basically create a UI color object from the color. So we're going to say UI color from UI color self, and then we're going to put a guard statement to access the components from the UI color. So we're going to say components, and these components are basically going to be coming from CG color. So CG color has components, which actually gives us access to all the components for RGBA values, and we're going to say components are component.count should be greater than equal to 3. That means there has to be at least 3 components in place, otherwise we want to return a nil value. Okay, now we are going to basically check if the first we're gonna actually create our red color, so float, and component at 0th index is gonna be red color, green is gonna be at first index, blue is gonna be at second index. Okay, and for the alpha we're gonna create a variable called alpha, and we're gonna assign it to 1 initially, because we don't know if it's gonna have alpha component or not. So we're gonna say if components dot count is greater than equal to 4. In that case, that means alpha is present, so we're gonna say float components and get the third index out, which is going to be the alpha value. Okay, and let's make sure this is actually float. Okay, now all we need to do is we need to return some value. So we're going to say if alpha is not equal to float of 1.0. okay, then we want to return a string with format. Okay, and we're gonna actually return a string that is basically some basically includes the alpha format, basically the alpha value for the string, and this is going to be the hex value. Okay, and we're going to do that by taking 0 to lx. Okay, and we're going to repeat this 4 times. Okay, and yeah, so we're gonna have these values populated in the argument section, and we're gonna say L round F. Okay, and we're gonna round our red value times 255. Okay, and we're gonna do the same with the green. So green is going to be the second one, red, green, blue is going to be the third one, and then we have the final one, which is going to be the alpha. Okay, all right, and so if if this is not the case, then we have 3 values that we need to return, and that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna take and remove one of these, and we're gonna remove the alpha component out. Okay, and this should give us basically a color that can be converted to hex value. Okay, so we are going to write that at the bottom and we're gonna say we're gonna basically convert that. So we're gonna take our color, okay, and we're gonna say color, which is coming from the hex color string, okay, and we're gonna say to hex, and if it's empty we're gonna simply type none, okay. And with that, let's go ahead and resume. And what we should expect to see is, like, initially it's none, and I'm gonna start typing, okay, and we get our white color, okay, and basically we change this to 23, and we change this to 76, and we change these to 23, and there we have it. We can change this to FF, which is actually a full color. That means we are actually removing the alpha value, because, like, it's full alpha, like, basically fully visible without any opacity color, okay. So that was the video on basically how you can take these simple utilities to make your life convenient by converting hex color to colors and colors back to hex, okay. So that was it for this video. Once again, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so right below, and leave your comments, give it a thumbs up, and check out more videos on the channel. There's a whole bunch of content there, and do check out www.devtechie.com. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys in another video.